welcome back to Bumblebee, where today's video doesn't take place on the surface of the big blue ocean, but rather its dark, watery depths, where we can find the top 10 ocean mysteries we still can't solve. Starting with the sunken monument. Are they man-made steps and ancient pyramids that sank in an earthquake or a natural rock formation? If you guess man-made sunken stuff, you'd probably be correct. While there's no official assertion scientifically or historically, I have eyeballs and so do you, and I feel like that's all you need. Case in point, example 1. So apparently the ocean could have built this. Or apparently example 2, if this is the ocean's work, remind me to snag their info for my next architectural inspiration. If you guys needed more, here's a literal map of the site. If you tell me the ocean built this, tack on that the aliens helped too while you're at it, or maybe ancient mermaids. These strange structures in the water off the coast of Japan, found by a diver in 1986, and then nicknamed Japan's Atlantis, have baffled scientists ever since they were discovered. The rectangular monument is more than 165 feet long and some 65 feet wide, stylized to be kind of like a step pyramid. Nearby are other formations, all which suggest a submerged ancient city. That puts the structures at least 5,000 years old and at oldest more than 20,000, which most likely means they belong to the lost civilization like the legendary Mu or Lemura. Today, it's a popular dive spot with tourists and continues to puzzle people as one of the ancient mysteries researchers can't explain. Next up is a classic, it's the bloop. Similar to hearing your girlfriend fart for the first time since your relationship started, nothing like the mysterious bloop sound recorded in the South Pacific of 1997 has ever been heard before or again. It was very loud, low frequency, and had a unique pattern that makes some think it was a newly discovered creature lurking in the depths, all H.P. Lovecraftian and Cthulhu style. Researchers continued to look for the origin of the noise for years until 2005 they announced it had been an icequake, which occurs when an iceberg falls off of glaciers. Although the reasoning has been generally accepted, some conspiracy theorists still feel the explanation is meh. There are several unexplained noises that have been recorded over the years, but the second most popular was Julia, which was explained away also as an iceberg, but this time one scraping the ocean floor. So what do you think? Does this sound like an iceberg to you? And as you guys, I'm sure, are fully aware, the ocean is home to a bunch of immortal creatures. Could this tiny jellyfish hold the secret to curing cancer? Smaller than a pinky nail, this sea creature has the Benjamin Button-like effect to revert back to the polyphy stage when injured or starving, earning it the nickname Immortal Jellyfish for how it literally just outsmarts death. Although the species had been known for about 100 years, it wasn't until the 1990s that its incredible phenomenon was discovered. Scientists are unsure exactly how its cells are able to regress and regrow. The lobster, barbecued, baked, sauteed, or just boiled, this animated rock meat literally requires so much butter to be passably eatable. I think we might as well have bowls of that instead of waste our time fighting minuscule shreds of meat out of a shell, but to each their own. It's a debate amongst the scientific community whether these red ocean dwellers are biologically immortal animals. Usually their only cause of death is disease or becoming prey, not old age. You know what they say about a lobster with big feet? He's ancient! Fun fact, the bigger the lobster, the older it is. These creepy crawlers, also known as planarian worms, are famous for their regenerative abilities, where a worm cut across or lengthwise can form two separate worms. This apparently limitless regeneration also applies to aging and damaged tissue, allowing the worms to cheat death indefinitely, except with the inevitable instances like being eaten by predators. No one's immune to that, even you. Next up is how some folks 9,300 years ago accomplished something we never could: the inexplicable monolith. That Stone Age hunter-gatherers in a now submerged area of the Mediterranean Sea apparently cut from a 15-ton limestone pillar with precision, then drilled holes in it and transported it nearly 300 meters. Oceanographers studying the Mediterranean seafloor in the Sicilian Channel between Tunisia and Sicily in 2012 found the monolith at 131 feet deep, and researchers say this area became submerged when the last ice age ended, give or take 200 years. Before that, the area was a shallow sea with several islands. This discovery provides evidence for a significant Mesolithic human activity in the Sicilian Channel region, writes Emanuel Lodolo and Zavi Ben Abraham in their paper. This discovery of the submerged site in the Sicilian Channel may significantly expand our knowledge of earliest civilizations in the Mediterranean basin and our views on technological innovation and development achieved by Mesolithic inhabitants. The authors say further explorations of the now submerged Mediterranean seafloor shelves that were land before the vast ice age for evidence of human settlements is necessary to understand the origins of civilization in the area. And now we'll attempt, and probably fail like everyone else, to examine the curse of shipwreck 2109. ExxonMobil was laying pipeline when they happened to stumble upon this shipwreck, which had laid undisturbed for 2 centuries, well, before being bisected with an oil pipeline. Marine archaeologists saw it as an opportunity to use undersea technology and uncover a maritime timeline. With robotic submarines now able to dive thousands of feet, the treasures of shipwrecks are now well within reach, or even seeing the Titanic wreck, as we've learned. A team was assembled to explore the wreckage, but nothing ever seemed to go right, thus kicking in the belief of an inexplicable curse. The first explorative sub malfunctioned right as it was getting ready to go check out the wreck. Everything from the video monitors going out whenever they tried to fire the thrusters, to sonar breaking, to hydraulics going haywire one after another. Next, the Navy sent a researcher sub that was basically self-destructing its own rover upon entering the water. It got caught in the propeller and smashed to bits, and when one rover finally got to the wreck, its arms were too short to reach anything and even dropped crucial artifacts they can't find again. Next, a ship dispatched to collect artifacts snags debris in its propeller and ends up dry docked for repairs. When it hits water again, a prop shaft breaks and the whole ship nearly sinks, which brings us up to date on attempts to excavate. About all they have from their explorations is a copper scrap 11 by 6 inches brought up from the first dive. Researchers haven't been able to confirm the detail about the boat's nationality, the crew, the rig, or the trade. Despite hours of videos and carefully constructed sonar maps, the only fact the researchers learned consecutively in the last year was that the ship had 2 masts and the number 2109 nailed onto the edge of its rudder. Now we ask ourselves the same question as endless historians and archaeologists: why is there an underwater road? Discovered in the beautiful Bahama waters in 1968, the Benini Road is made of a number of rectangular shaped stones all lined up with one another. Some who have researched the site say it's man-made and perhaps a breakwater constructed to protect an ancient settlement. Others say it's simply an interesting natural phenomena created over thousands of years by the forces of water. Once again, we have eyeballs, and this is looking pretty man-made. The Benini Road runs parallel to 2 smaller paths before neatly curving at the end to form a hook. The impressive blocks that make up the road lie in an orderly row along the seafloor and look as if they once had a right-angled corner before being smoothed by natural erosion. Naturally, anything looks unexplained as underwater, folks jump right to the speculation that might have something to do with a lost civilization, namely Atlantis. It is, of course, nothing to do with Atlantis. In 1978, the Department of Geology at the University of Miami used radiocarbon dating to assess the whole rock samples, shells extracted from the core, and the carbonates cementing the rock core. The findings estimate the age of the Benini Road to be around 2,000 years old. Their young age alone is hard evidence against Atlantis, which would have sunk 12,000 years ago. Another strange underwater find is the Baltic Sea anomaly. This baby is conspiracy theory candy. In June of 2011, a mysterious object was discovered on the floor of the Baltic Sea between Sweden and Finland. 60 meters in diameter, the object doesn't even look arguably close to natural, and divers say it rests on a pillar of some type with what resembles a series of steps and domed compartments jutting out from the main body of the structure. There even seems to be tunnels or passageways beneath the structure of the unknown object. Research divers say happened next has continued to puzzle those looking to answer the mystery of this anomaly. When the Ocean X ship tried to take high-quality images of what was on the seabed, their sensor and photographic equipment failed on them when they were above the mound. Sonar was blocked by mysterious electrical interference, and satellite phones had their batteries immediately drained despite having only just been recently charged. All of this would fuel talk that they had uncovered extraterrestrials, with the dome structure argued to possibly be a cockpit of a flying saucer. Or maybe it was an anti-shipping weapon in the Weddell Sea for the Battle of Scandinavia. Less far-fetched is the idea that it could be an ancient temple, as Britain was once connected to mainland Europe via an area now called the Doggerland, but it was lost when flooded by rising sea levels in 6500 to 6200 BC. Now it's one of the funniest topics on the internet, the Orca Collegiate of 2023. Last month, a sailor was stranded on the island of Gibraltar after a crew of killer whales attacked his yacht and managed to rip off the rudders. Meanwhile, just 2 days previous, on the 2nd of May, 6 orcas rammed the hull of the Bavaria 46 cruiser yacht in an encounter lasting a near hour. These are just some of the incidents in a string of similar, and although no one can say for sure what is causing these animals to act up, many are theorizing it may have something to do with a whale called White Gladys. She's a traumatized matriarch who has been possibly teaching the young pods of whales how to rip rudders off of boats. Experts believe White Gladys may have suffered a critical moment of agony, such as colliding with the boat or becoming trapped during illegal fishing, which altered her behavior to a defensive fashion. Could White Gladys be orchestrating the attacks against the luxury vessels? Esther Author Christine Storkson was with her father on a 12-meter yacht when they were jumped by an orca gangle. Recalling the scary moment, Storkson wrote on Facebook, "The whales kept ramming us. We had the impression it was a coordinated attack." You mean co-orcanated, Storkson? Yeah, I'm going there. Most orca interactions have been harmless historically, with orcas only touching an estimated 1 in every 100 boats passing through the area. The new behavior has baffled scientists, with some initially suggesting it could relate to the harmful scarcity of food or the disruptive resumption of business as usual nautica activities in the wake of the pandemic. Others have suggested it could just be playful behavior. No matter what, the internet loves it, and so do I. Now we delve into the mystery of the 4 sunken subs. Within the first months of 1968, 4 separate submarines from 4 separate places, the USS Scorpion, the Soviet submarine K-129, a French submarine named Minerva, and the INS Dakar all sank. The last 2 subs disappeared only 4 days apart, and the Minerva has never been found even though it only disappeared an hour from its home port. First up is on January 25th of that year, the Israeli submarine INS Dakar disappeared. It stopped in Gibraltar, dapped up some orcas, and then bypassed Crete, sending regular transmissions along the way. It was ahead of schedule, it wanted to arrive earlier, but the orders were to keep steady and arrive on the decided date. Then all communication ceased. Its last known location was 160 kilometers west of Cyprus. 2 days after the Israeli submarine vanished, a French submarine disappeared in the waters of the Gulf of Lion. Just an hour before it was due to arrive, carrying 45 men aboard. Decades later, in 2019, the ship turns up 45 kilometers south of its final destination. This Soviet submarine belonging to the Soviet Navy's Pacific Fleet disappeared while on patrol in the Pacific Ocean. Communication ceased 2 weeks into the mission when it missed its regular March 8th check-in. While the Soviets eventually gave up on their search, the CIA launched one of their own, and the Americans recovered pieces of the wreckage 2,414 kilometers northwest of Hawaii. Lastly, an American submarine called the USS Scorpion vanished in May near the Azores. Its purpose was to surveil Soviet activity in the area, and the Scorpion's last message stated it was closing in on a Soviet vessel to observe. Then it fell silent. The pieces of the wreck currently sit on the seafloor 740 kilometers southwest of the Azores. Because of the material on board, the site is super radioactive. All 4 subs sank inexplicably in the first half of the year. And now, to end off on a spooky note, we have the Octavius ghost ship. The famous Octavius was built during the mid-18th century and departed England to Asia with a crew of 28 men in 1761. While the ship did reach its intended destination about a year later, it was not so lucky on its return voyage. So the captain decided to chance traveling through the Northwest Passage. This feat had not been accomplished, so the captain decided he wanted to be the first to do it, and I guess this is the time. And it would also significantly cut down their return time, so 2 birds, 1 stone. Turns out the captain was a bad stone thrower because he didn't even hit 1 bird. During the fall of 1762, the ship disappeared in North Alaska, where it remained lost for 13 years. In 1775, a whaling ship called the Herald discovered the Octavius stuck off the coast, buried solidly in ice, but not enough to keep the crew of the Herald from exploring it for goods. Instead of discovering treasures or cool things, the Herald crew discovered some new trauma to take home. All 28 crew members of the Octavius are frozen to death below deck, and the frigid temperature kept their corpses frozen solid, sitting or laying exactly where they were once living below deck. The captain of the Octavius was sitting at his desk in the cabin. Crew of the Herald immediately get the hell out of there, and they took nothing except the captain's log to determine what happened on board the ship. The ship's last recorded location in the captain's log was approximately 250 miles north of Uyavik, Alaska. This location is near the start of the Northwest Passage, while their location of discovery was at the end of the passage. Given the last location recorded in the captain's log, it seems Octavius alone did succeed in traveling through the Northwest Passage, but not with anyone alive on board to help. Alright, thank you. This is the end of another fun and mysterious video. I hope you enjoyed. Do be sure to like and subscribe for more content, and comment down below what ocean mystery nags at you the most.